There's so many storylines that are going to the start here. You see Elise Cranny leading this field wearing hip number 1, 30-14. At the time when she ran that here on this track was number 2 American all-time. And as we go through this list, Courtney Wayment, the Olympic steepler, making her debut. She's the number 4 steepler in U.S. history, an 8-time All-American and NCAA champion. And Hayden, she's out here for enjoyment at 10,000 meters.
Yeah, it's just really cool seeing all these athletes converge over the 10,000. I think another storyline we need to keep an eye on, we have 10 nations represented in this race, 10 potential national records. Obviously, this is an event held in California, United States of America. The number 1 record on people's minds in this stadium is that 30:03 set by Alicia Monson at this event. Remind you, at this event in 2023, Cranny's been 11 seconds off it. Kelati's been 30 seconds off it. There's a host of other women that have been about a minute off of it. Are they going to go with it today? We'll find out here in a moment.
So you saw Lauren Ryan in that last shot, won the B section a year ago and set the Australian national record of 30:35 here in the A section. I think she earned her spot. So Lauren Ryan, definitely a player here. You see Emily Enfeld there. In a Brooks kit, has had a tremendous career. And we are underway. This is the Tokyo Women's 10,000 meters. And the way that this is going to play out, Hayden, we've got our predictions. We know what we think might happen, but surprises await us.
Always, always. And one of those women that surprised us last year, you mentioned her already, Lauren Ryan, the Australian national record holder, set that in the B heat last year. She's joined by her compatriot, Holly Campbell, also going after that. We've got the Argentinian national record holder, Florencia Borelli, also set that. Where? Here, last year, again, just all sorts of records on the table. Dominique Scott might be going after the South African record. She's been 8 seconds off that. Sarah Lottie's been 3 seconds off the Swedish record. Laura Galvan is the Mexican national record holder at 31:04. She's going to be trying to cut that down today. The list goes on.
One storyline here is the NCAA record, and you see Pamela Kosgei there running in 4th, 5th place. 30:50, that NCAA record by Parker Valby, run at the Brian Clay Invitational. On the line here tonight, 72 on the opener. Shelby Houlihan, part of our pacing group up front. Another piece of this is several top athletes in the world, including the American record holder at the distance, the half marathon, are coming off of we have half marathon season now, where we've had 3 significant races this year at Houston, Atlanta, and New York City. And a lot of players from those races who went toe-to-toe and had mixed results depending on the weekend, depending on the race, now converging again here on the track.
Absolutely. And we've talked about great rabbits in all these races. I mean, Abby Nichols winning the 1500, coming back and pacing with the Olympian Colleen Quigley. We saw some great pacers in the men's race, Jackson Sharp doing a ton of work. How about having the woman who just got silver at World Indoors, Shelby Houlihan, coming to pace this race? I reached out to her yesterday and asked why. Like, you just won a silver medal on the world stage. Why come to California? Why run 5,000 meters? She said it's just, for her, it's about raising the standard of American distance running. Obviously, her and Elise Cranny, former teammates, good friends. Elise reached out to her. Not a lot of women that can help pace you towards an American record. Reached out to Shelby, said, I just want to help raise the bar, help Elise get to this mark, or Kelati, or whoever it happens to be, before I shut things down and get ready for Drake relays.
30-minute pace underway here, 2:24.1. One thing we haven't seen yet in a 10,000 on the evening is a break this early. So we had separation nearly from the gun, and that separation with 5 women, 2 of which being rabbits, includes Pamela Kosgei on 30-minute pace through 1,000.
Yeah, Kosgei going with this is interesting. You said it. We expected earlier separations, right? We kind of teased that up. What you're seeing isn't necessarily folks getting out of their comfort zone earlier. We're seeing more experience. We're seeing women who know, hey, I can't run 30-30. That's okay. I still want to run a world standard at 30-20, and if I try to go after 30 flat following Asicol and Houlihan, I'm going to be toast. But Kosgei, I mean, she is an international class talent that I think is just getting better and better. New Mexico really going after both the NCAA records today. We'll see Hampton Samuel come in the men's race. I think if anybody can hang with these women, we didn't talk about Kosgei in pre-show, and maybe we should have.
I don't know how many times I've seen such depth and talent in a chase group. So I'm just scanning across as our leaders have some pretty solid separation of 25 to 30 meters as Emily Venters and Callie Thackeray Hauger give chase. Thackeray Hauger, a 2:21 marathoner, giving chase in a 10K. Doesn't happen all the time with that level of athlete, a Paris Olympian, incredible marks at half marathon and marathon, part of a chase group, and running on the second set of lights. Not a comment on her.
Dude, she's
more
run,
comment on the event.
Sorry to cut you off there, but she's run 14:55 and 66:58, and she's in the chase pack, like you said.
That's the point.
That just says the class of athlete we have. Asicol and Houlihan continuing to lead. Cranny, Kelati, and Kosgei behind. And let's just remind everybody, who were our picks on the pre-show? Let's just make sure everybody knows that before we get too late in this race.
So we talked about Cranny, Ryan, and Ryan sits in about 10th place, leading chase group, the second chase group, or the main pack, you could say, along with Jess McLean.
Well, you took Cranny, I took Kelati, right? I think we're seeing that. They're both up there with Kosgei, and Fenton took Ryan. Well, Fenton, a lot can happen, but how did nobody pick Kosgei? How did none of us pick her? She looks great right now. She's right up in the mix. And as you said, Thackeray and Venters, Venters is somebody who I think could really continue to excel as a professional. She kind of came out of the woodworks with a really fast 10,000 at Stanford that I called a couple years ago. She obviously was talented, but really didn't have the top marks to her name yet. I think she is going to be so good as a professional.
So Houlihan there on the outside, and lined up are Cranny, Weini Kelati, and Kosgei.
Reminder, that front group, they are going after 30 flat. It seems like Audrey Thackeray is the only one interested in 30-20. She's followed by Venters. We've got Lauren Ryan. We've got Dom Scott. We've got Jess McLean. I mean, it's a who's who of distance running right now.
So let's go down to Ryan. He's trackside, checking out the action.
Hey guys, down here trackside. One correction there, Hayden. My pick was Elise Cranny. I said if she fell off, watch out for Lauren Ryan. Just wanted to fact check you there. But I do want to just give you a heads up. Talk to some of the coaches before this race, and there was some discussion around, is Elise Cranny actually going to go after it tonight? There's Grand Slam track next week. She's going to have a 3,000 and a 5,000 to run back-to-back over that weekend. We all debated on whether she's going to go after it or not, and then we saw someone from the Elise Cranny camp, and they confirmed, yeah, she's going after it. You guys can obviously see she's in there right now, looking great, but Pamela Kosgei, watch out for her. She's looking good on the back of that pack.
So our group of 5 up front with 19 to go. And I misspoke in saying that McLean was leading the chasers. It was Venters up front in the Brooks kit. McLean, part of that train, but our 5 together, still chasing. Thackeray running solo in between the lead and chase groups.
Yeah, a lot of athletes seem to be comfortable with that 30-45. So right now, not a single U.S. woman has the world standard by time. That time is 30-20. Currently, 2 U.S. women running ahead of that, at least 2 women planning on finishing the race. You also have Pamela Kosgei rolling with them. A couple women in on the World Athletics quota, though, and this is a big piece of it. McLean's one of them. Vestry's one of them. She's in this race. Kelati's also in it. Cranny's not. Probably will be at the end of this race. We'll find out. But that's a big piece of it, too, getting points, which I won't even begin to try to explain how that works. But running fast helps. Let's put it that way.
The greatest asset at this point for Cranny is Shelby Houlihan, and her current fitness is one of the best runners in the world with 18 to go. So you got to think that Houlihan can stay in this game as long as she chooses. So low 72s and high 71s, or that last lap was our fastest as Houlihan went to the front in 71.4. So this is serving Elise Cranny, Weini Kelati, and Pamela Kosgei incredibly well as they go to 3K on the dot at 9 minutes.
So for those American viewers that might not be as in tune to the international scene, let me educate you a little bit on the young woman in third. Pamela Kosgei, she's run 15 flat over 5K, running now for the University of New Mexico, was the runner-up at the 2024 cross-country championship. She is the sister of Olympic silver medalist and world record holder Bridget Kosgei, so the genes are certainly there. Great cross-country pedigree, but this is her debut, Kevin. This is her debut in the 10,000. I don't know about you, but if I was running my first 10,000, I don't think I'd be trying to keep up with Elise Cranny and Kelati. I love the fearlessness from Kosgei to know that she's got all the talent in the world. Just chase those women for as long as you can.
So about 7-second gaps from our leaders to Thackeray, and then another 7 seconds back to the chase group. So 9:35 up front, Thackeray at about 9:44. And then the chase group led by Venters, Vestry, and Ryan. Dom Scott, Ella Donahue making her debut, now part of Diljit Taylor's group. 1450 indoors for the Stanford alum was a huge step moving from Union. So that chase group, 952, 953, 954 for the better part of 15 women. Continuing to roll. Dom Scott now edges towards the front. Here's Shelby Houlihan. We're past the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, you mentioned Ella Donahue, and we've talked several times today about how good that BYU squad is from Diljit Taylor. Let's bring those two together. Ella Donahue moving across to Diljit Taylor. Courtney Wayman in this race, one of America's best steeplechasers, trying out the 10,000. Got to talk to her leading up to the race. Listen to this. I mean, she's one of the best runners in the United States, right? She's run sub 15. I asked what her goals are for the 10,000. She goes, I want to finish. Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. She's gonna do a lot more than that today, I'm sure. I know she's excited to be racing with her teammate Ella, and she's talked a lot about how good the vibes have been up with Diljit these last couple months. People have looked into, the Swoosh Track Club, how that's gonna impact folks. Obviously, Wayman's sponsored by On, not Nike. What's going on there? She says it's just a nice collaborative group of women. Everybody works well together. It's been so fun training, and I'm really excited to see what both of those women can do today.
Yeah, and seeing them in that group and the way that Donahue was welcomed in, the way Diljit Taylor talked about it on Chris Chavez's podcast, it's like, just let's come here, let's give it a shot. 10 laps down for our leaders, right on 12 minutes.
Yeah, so state of the race right now. We have Houlihan continuing to do the pace work for her good friend, former teammate Elise Cranny. As expected, Weini Kelati, no fear whatsoever. She knows that she is one of America's best. She's got the American record in the half. She would love to add the 10,000 to her resume as well. She's in third position. Starting to lose a little bit of distance, but honestly still looking just fine. Pamela Kosgei in her debut. She's lost a couple of meters here, but not too much. Farther back, we have Hogger Thackeray. She's chasing the world standard lights of 30-20. She's lost about 10 to 15 meters. And then we have a pack of about 15 women chasing the red lights at that 30-45 mark. Not a lot of American women have gone under 31, so we might get a few more. Bailey Hertenstein's in that group. Dom Scott, the Australian, of course, running with Lauren Ryan. Emily Venters up there. Amanda Vestry, she won the Orlando half not too long ago. She's really come along strong. A lot of women up there that are going to have some great races tonight.
So one piece, Hayden, we're going to keep an eye on is what happens with our solo flyers at the moment with Koskai and Thackeray, because the chasers are aware of them, and we're at 14 to go, so lots of time for Laura Ryan, Dom Scott, Taylor Rowe, etc. to chase them down. And you see Thackeray running solo there, and she could use some help. There's some splintering with our chasers with Ryan and Scott.
I have no doubt that Hunter Thackeray could use some help and would love somebody up there with her. But I'm going to tell you something. I saw her dominate the McCurdy Micro Marathon running pretty much by herself. If anyone can handle just grinding away on her own, the marathoner certainly has what it takes. And you mentioned a name a minute ago that we hadn't said yet. Taylor Rowe, new professional running for Puma. She's run 15-15, six-time All-American at Oklahoma State. Just took home the title at U.S. Half Champs on a really competitive field, running 67-22 alongside her former teammate Alex Mayer, who took the men's race. I'd always thought Rowe was just one step away from really breaking out as a collegiate star. She was the only woman that wanted to go with Parker Valby at that NCAA 10,000-meter final. I'm excited to see what she can do in the professional ranks.
14:24 at 12 laps. Houlihan, Cranny, and Weini Kelati. And you see Ryan, Rowe, Dom Scott, and Borelli working into position. Borelli ran 31:33 here a year ago. The Argentinian was an Olympian in 2021.
That's the national record as well that she ran last year. A lot of national record holders in this race, and those that aren't sure as heck want to be. But I like what we're seeing up front. I mean, Houlihan's keeping it controlled. Cranny, she's used to staring at the back of Houlihan's head in practice. They did that for years working together at Bowerman. But man, you know who's looking really strong, and really always does? Kelati. Just right on Cranny. She's always got that kind of high arm carriage, but not giving Cranny an inch. Let's see if we get a decision here as they lose Houlihan just a little bit.
So right at that 15-minute mark at the halfway point, and we are beyond that now as we approach 16 minutes.
Yeah, this is the moment where we will find out, is the American record going to be on tonight? Look at this gap starting to form just a little bit. Shelby looking over her shoulder. Feels it, slows down just a little bit, trying to get him some help. I'd love to see Kelati make a move here, but I don't know if Kelati cares so much about the record or winning. That's what we're going to find out. If she cares about the record, she's going to try to get around Cranny. She's going to try to make a move back up to Houlihan, but Cranny, she's in some difficulty. This is rare. You don't see Cranny in pain very often.
There's Pamela Koskai running in third, still among our finishers. As our pace lights are slipping a bit, Houlihan senses it and continues to keep that contact. We're at 11 to go. So we've got our separation continuing here, and Shelby Houlihan reading into that and keeping Cranny in her wake.
Yeah, Cranny's starting to close the gap a little bit. It's hard to tell if Houlihan's just making a veteran pacing move and slowing down a little bit so Cranny can get back to her, or if Cranny, maybe Cranny was just going through some difficulty. That looked like a little bit of an acceleration.
And now Houlihan steps off the track at 17:30. So another excellent pacing job done here this evening. Credit to Shelby Houlihan. We're down to 2 women. And if anything, down the backstretch, and we'll get a shot of this, Koskai coming into zone for Thackeray, and Taylor Rowe has broken away and is hunting down Thackeray Hauger at the moment. So
yeah,
we appreciate our awesome camera work, and you can see coming off the turn, Taylor Rowe, Hayden, into position.
Current state of the race. Cranny and Kelati stuck together like glue. That American record wave light is starting to slip away just a little bit, but we should still see one of the fastest times in American history. Third place, Pamela Kosgei in that New Mexico kit. Starting to lose a little bit of ground to Hogger Thackeray, as you mentioned. Not too far behind Hogger Thackeray, Taylor Rowe. And you know who might be the strongest looking woman on the track right now? Lauren Ryan. Just seems to get a little bit faster, a little bit faster. She ran that B heat last year. I don't know if you remember the interview. She ran it because she wanted to run her own race. She didn't want to think about expectations or the women she needed to race against. She just wanted to focus on herself, and she's doing that right now, leading Dom Scott and 2 other women charging down the back straight, and I know she's got her eye on Taylor Rowe.
And our 2-woman race up front, while we do have some movement and some connections and disconnections in our field, 2 athletes not disconnected as we come in to 9 to go.
Yeah, I think what we've seen over this lap is a glimpse into Kelati's mind. We've talked about the American record, right? I know Cranny was thinking about it coming out here, being 11 seconds off, being 3rd all time. Kelati has stuck to her like glue. I think what we've seen is Kelati has decided, hey, times are great, right? But I want to practice racing. She's good at it already. She won the Olympic trials in the 10,000. She's run fast times in the half. Maybe the job out here for her from coach was to just go race. Sit on Cranny, wait for it. And as I say that, we're starting to get a little bit of a move. What's Kelati about to do?
We're going to go down to Ryan Fenton trackside for an update.
Yeah, you guys talking about that race heating up, and Weini Kelati just made that move on Elise Cranny. You can see those pace lights. The green have gotten away from them. The white is creeping up on them, so they're going to have to keep that in mind because both of these women do not have that world standard. So that's going to be on their mind as that light creeps up. The other light that just creeped up on someone is Pamela Kosgei. She was with that white light for a while, but she's faded, and now she's right with the red light. That red light is at 30:45. Parker Valby's collegiate record is 30:50, so 5 seconds past behind that red light. So just another story to keep an eye on as this race unfolds.
So
I think we.
So you see Taylor Rowe going into 3rd.
Yeah, Taylor Rowe looks fantastic. I mean, we talked about running your own race. Well, Kosgei went out front with the leaders. Hogger Thackeray seemed to be glued to that 30-20 pace. Taylor Rowe just ran her own race. She sat back with the Lauren Ryan group for a little bit and just started getting a little bit faster every lap. She is now past Kosgei. She is past Hogger Thackeray. She is now into 3rd place, and she's closing in on those 30-45 lights.
Up front, Weini Kelati and Elise Cranny are on the world standard lights of 30-20. And those lights are just inching away at the moment with Kelati in the lead. Cranny right there.
You know, I will note it does feel just a little bit warmer than it did last year. I wonder if that's having an effect on these athletes. It's certainly not hot out here by no stretch of the imagination, but just not that extra cool breeze in the air. I remember sitting up here in the commentary booth shivering when I saw the records fall last year. And I wonder if that's just having a little bit of impact as Kelati tries to drive down this curve. Now Cranny's the one stuck to her like glue, and they have a world of separation to 3rd place, Taylor Rowe.
So recent laps up front of 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, and another 76 as it is tactical. And you see we're in that 60 degrees zone. And one factor, Hayden, could be a little bit of humidity. And that, while it does feel ideal as we sit here, that could be playing a role. So good conditions and 2 battling up front. Not at the pace we necessarily expected, but it is the 2 that we thought we'd see battling. And Cranny back around.
Yep, you're seeing these 2 women start to work together a little bit. That's going to help both of them out. Love to see Cranny going around there and giving Kelati some help. Kelati sticking right with her. We've also seen a shift in that chase group. So reminder, Cranny's her leader, Kelati's behind her. You're seeing lapped runners behind. Now you have Taylor Rowe in third, Hogger Thackeray 10 meters behind her in fourth, Pamela Kosgei 20 meters behind that in fifth. Then you have a pack of 4 women that was formerly led by Lauren Ryan. And don't get me wrong, Lauren Ryan still looks great, but is elected to give Dom Scott a couple of laps, who came up to the front. You also have Emily Infield now running for Brooks alongside her teammate Jess McLean in that pack.
Cranny and Weini Kelati down the backstretch.
And I'm seeing a move in the fourth chase group. Ella Donahue has gone around the Argentinian national record holder, Florence Borelli. And you know who's going right with her? Teammate Courtney Wayman.
And you see them right there working together as they do in practice in Provo. Newer teammates, Ella Donahue and Wayman. And Cranny outside of that American record zone, but battling for a win here in this Tokyo 10K.
Yeah, Cranny just looks a little tighter than usual. Not quite her normal explosive, poppy self. Kelati, I think, still looks pretty smooth sitting behind her. I wonder if she's feeling a little bit better. But we've got 5 laps to go, and we'll find out.
24:26 at 8K for our leaders. Taylor Rowe in third at 24:42, so 16 seconds back. Thackeray right there with her. Kosgei being chased down by that quartet you mentioned, Hayden, led by Laura Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan's gone back to the front of that group. Her and Dom Scott seem to have been working very well together. Emily Infield content to sit back there. Jess McLean, fun seeing her come back to a 10,000 after being 4th at the Olympic trials in the marathon. She looks very good sitting behind Infield right now.
If you had to put money on it, this is a tough call on the win. 2 Americans with the finest resumes.
Yeah, let's read a little bit of that out as they come through with about a mile to go. So apologies, because most of y'all will be familiar with this, but Elise Cranny, American record holder over 3,000. Number 3 American all time in the 10,000 right here in 2022. She's a 4-time U.S. national champion and was a finalist in the Paris Olympic Games in the 5,000. Meanwhile, you got Kelati, a little bit more on the strength side. American record holder in the half marathon. She's number 6 all time in the 10,000. Where'd she run it? You guessed it, right here in 2024. She's a 2-time national champion, including 2 NCAA championships, and was 8th. Let's remind you that, 8th at the Paris Olympic Games. She is no fresh out of college, new to this event. She is very, very good, and that is why she's sitting on one of the best to ever do it for the United States, Elise Cranny, right now.
So Weini Kelati's PR of 30:33 would be kind of in the zone that they're racing at right now, that mid 30-30 range.
I think we're closer to 30-50 right now. Those white lights are at 30-20, and they're about 100 meters ahead.
And the red pace lights are at 30:45, if I'm not mistaken.
And they're getting closer every lap. So you're, yeah, 30-40 probably, 30-40 to 30-45. We'll see if they can hold off the red lights with 3 laps to go.
You would expect a big close after a number of multiple 76 laps. And the question is, who's going to make the first move as we're inside at 1,200? Is it Cranny, one of the fastest milers in American history, and a middle distance runner at heart, or originally, or Weini Kelati, one of the best road racers in American history? Arguably the best road racer in American history.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's interesting with Cranny, right? Because one of the reasons that she cited as leaving Bowerman is she wanted to get back to shorter races. She wanted to get back to doing more speed work. She's been working with Jared Kornfield at NAU and seems to have really found that love of the sport again that seemed to have been missing for a couple years. But here she is in the 10,000. Maybe she's admitted that this is an event that she is very good at. I mean, number 3 American all time. And as we say that, we should look a little bit farther back because, you know, I don't think they'll get back, but Hogger Thackeray and Taylor Rowe have been working extremely well together. Now about an 80-meter separation between them and Kelati and Cranny. And Kelati's going to the front. will she stay there?
I think that's a smart move. We're at 28:15 with 2 to go. A 75.8. Make it a 76.3 on our most recent lap. So nobody's really showed their hand until this moment when Kelati goes to the front. Cranny not giving an inch. As you mentioned, Hayden, Hauger Thackeray, and Taylor Rowe running very well. That was 75.1 on the last lap for those two. The battle for third underway.
Yeah, so I think looking at Kelati and Cranny, Cranny has probably got the flat speed, right? If they raced 100, I think most folks would bet on Cranny, but Kelati's got the strength. She's run that half marathon fantastically. If she's going to beat Cranny, she's got to do exactly what she's doing and maybe a little bit more. She's going to need to start dialing this down. Those red lights are getting a little closer, and Cranny is staying very sticky. Kelati's going to need to get some separation, because if Cranny is on her shoulder, it's going to be very, very hard to out-sprint her.
29:29 at the bell for Weini Kelati and Elise Cranny. America's two finest at the moment at this distance.
And they're still neck and neck, getting some lap runners, but it's really Kelati and Cranny. Kelati made that move about a lap and a half ago, but Cranny has not given her an inch. With every passing step, this walks into Elise Cranny's hands, and there she goes. Does she have the final 250-meter speed? Kelati has struggled with that before. She found it at the 10,000 at the trials. Can she outkick one of the best kickers the United States has ever seen?
So Elise Cranny opens it up down the backstretch and seems to find another gear on the turn. It's Elise Cranny. She has won on this track before and returns to the 10. Elise Cranny, the Stanford alum, the multiple-time Olympian, opens it up and blasts out over the last 100 meters here. Weini Kelati responding well, but this is Elise Cranny on the win in the Tokyo Women's 10,000.
And you can see the fatigue on her face. Love seeing Kelati going straight in for the hug. Worked well together. Just a little bit of separation in that last 200 meters. 30:36 on the clock for Cranny. She's the third fastest American already in the distance, but that's another top 10 mark for her. Now she's in the top 10 3 times, and Kelati will join her on that list, even though, of course, she's already on it as well with that 30:33. So 2 great races in not the coolest and not the fastest conditions we've ever seen here.
Some amazing depth in this race. As we caught the shot of Cranny, you saw finishers coming in under 31 minutes, including Hauger Thackeray, Taylor Rowe, Laura Ryan, Emily Enfeld, Jess McLean, all under that mark. Dom Scott just off of her lifetime best. Her first track race in 2 years for Dom Scott. So a deep race, not an incredibly fast race up front, but a heck of a battle by Cranny and Kelati.
Well, that just tells you everything you need to know about American distance running right now. If we're looking at a 30:36 and a 30:38, and let's not forget Taylor Rowe, 30:58, that's along with, oh my gosh, I forgot Emily Enfeld and Jessica McLean. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Americans under 31 minutes. If that's something we're disappointed about, that just shows you how good we have gotten as a nation to start competing on the international stage alongside athletes like Callie Hauger Thackeray, who runs that 30:53. Lauren Ryan, not the same race she had last year, but 30:58. Certainly no race to complain about, getting under the 31 barrier once again. Great racing.